Hi, you're listening to Boggy Talk, Faith Conversations in the Mud, a resource of Church on Bayshore.
Hey, welcome to Boggy Talk and happy Thanksgiving week. You should do like a turkey sound effect right now.
How do you do that? Can you make one? Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
You know, like that toy we had like when we were little. You
pull
the string,
yeah,
and you spin the wheel.
the arrow,
T is
yeah.
for turkey. That's what
good.
it sounds like.
That's good.
Anybody else know what that is? I don't know what it was called, but we had one. We
What
had an
was
actual
that?
string you pulled.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
when we had kids, that was like it had been updated to like computer sound or whatever. But anyway, I digress. It is Thanksgiving
You
week.
do digress.
I digress. It's Thanksgiving week, and it's been hopefully a week of rest for everyone listening, and hopefully we're getting some rest during this week too.
We're working today, or I'm working today. I don't know. You might be off.
I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm off. I filled out that time request form.
Okay. I haven't approved it because I don't know how to work the app yet.
We got a
but
new app.
Yeah, we
to
do.
it, so it's cool.
Look at us.
Yeah, we're advancing to the year 2013 and doing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Hey, so you doing okay today?
Yeah, I'm good. I am just grateful for the life I get to live, Justin.
Yeah, man.
Grateful to be next to you on Boggy
Oh,
Talk.
it's just good. I was just thinking, man, we have so much to be thankful for, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Wow,
is
wow.
thankfulness and blessing, and really why we're not as thankful as we should be. And
What are you talking about?
You
What are you talking about?
I just think if I do a little self-reflection,
Gosh, Justin.
but also some reflection on behalf of some other people that I know.
Just a few. Boggy Talk Nation.
That's right. We're probably just not as grateful as we should
You
be.
think Boggy Talk Nation is by and large happier than the rest of America?
I mean, they get to spend like 30 to 40 minutes a week with us listening. That has to make someone
I bet
happier,
if we
right?
did some kind of survey, Boggy Talk Nation is way above the median
average. Absolutely.
of lots of things. I don't know if there's correlation with any
Thankfulness,
causation there,
IQ,
but yeah.
like lots of things, they would
Yes,
be above average
that's right.
for sure. So we love you guys.
So
much.
listen to Boggy Talk, and there is a good chance you will be happy and funny. And smart.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, and you'll grow in funniness by listening to our unbelievable wit.
Unbelievable.
Literally, it is not believable that we have that much wit. All right, so on to serious things.
Serious things.
Thankfulness.
So here's where when we start talking about gratitude and Thanksgiving, I start at this point of, we do have so much to be thankful for. But I was thinking the other day just how
You were thinking
I was
or
thinking,
you were thinking?
I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
the
With
other
an I.
day. 2 years ago in 2020 in COVID and everything shut down and everyone in COVID was just like, do you remember how awesome it was just to reconnect as families and put away all
don't
the
know if everyone.
distraction? Well, like
Many
I
ones.
should, I'm oversimplifying,
Boggy Talk
but so
Nation.
many people were like, it's just been minus the hardships, but people were like, it's been so great to reconnect and we've not to have everything on the calendar. And here we are 2 years later. And I think talking about the enemies of gratitude, one of the reasons we struggle with gratitude is we're so busy going on from thing to thing to thing. And it's like, we appreciated that so much, but it's like, as soon as we had freedom again, we're like, forget that. Let's just go back to what we know and grind it all. And I think that is a big piece of this for me, at least. I find myself in that area and I don't want to be like that. I want to be grateful.
Yeah, I've actually started saying probably the last month or two, maybe you've heard me say this, life is full. Not I'm busy,
Right.
but life is full.
It's full.
Because it is full. I have a lot of stuff on my plate. Unfortunately, I eat a lot of it too. That's another issue. But and I will have a lot of stuff on my plate on Thursday.
That's right. I was
Thanksgiving.
to say that's the post Thanksgiving
Yeah,
episode.
that's right. But I choose most of that, or have chosen to enter into situations in which will bring a bunch of that on me. And, my life is just full of a lot of opportunities. And so I do think that so much of this is just our perspective. I don't, you all know me, that I'm not like some sappy, say very surface level preaching things, but we have to choose joy. We have to choose to be servants and I think to live as Christ and to die as gain. And so I don't think like I'm happy to be alive. I think we talked about that before. Like I'm grateful to go and be with Jesus, but the Lord has allowed me to be in my children's life, my wife's life, my friends' lives, my church life. Like, so, I mean, people that go to church with me are also my friends, but you know,
you have friends outside.
and so like, I'm there to serve and use those things for the glory of Jesus. I'm not saying that like every moment of my day, I'm like, what a blessing that I get to serve the Lord in this way. But I am like, continually challenge myself to have that perspective.
Absolutely. What I hear you saying is we should have an attitude of gratitude.
Oh, yes.
That's
Amen.
speaking of
That's why they call it Thanksgiving, not thanks taking.
That's right. We give. That's right. It's more blessed to give
yes.
than to receive.
I don't know about though on that meal. I'm thanks taking.
I can't wait to eat Thanksgiving food
anyway,
all week. You know, I think too a huge piece of this comes back to entitlement, and we know
you went there.
Yeah,
you
it
went
is.
there.
You know, and I think we can always more easily point the finger at other people and say that they're entitled to food. They just act so entitled.
Son.
But can we just agree we all need to start in the mirror here? And it reminds me at the Florida Baptist Convention last week, H.B. Charles was preaching a sermon on the book of Mark, a passage we just went through recently about, the disciples, and they asked Jesus a favor, James and John. They're like, grant us this favor, Lord, and we want to sit at your right hand. And Jesus is like, you don't know what you're asking. One thing he says is that the gospel basically, they felt entitled because they knew Jesus, and they felt entitled to their reward then, and not what was to come. And Jesus is like, you aren't able to drink the cup I'm about to, and I think that's me. I think so much of my ingratitude is rooted in entitlement, and entitlement is rooted in thinking I deserve something, but also wanting wanting things that I think are mine, that God, not trusting that He's enough, that He's sovereign, that He's put me where I am for the reasons He's put me there, and just not being content really is what it comes down to, and thinking God owes me something. And I think, if we can just pause this week before just naming all of our blessings, but actually, I think as believers we should live in this perpetual state of, faith and repentance, and even taking some time this week to just confess the ways we've been entitled and ungrateful. And then truly just be grateful that God's grace is so sufficient, his goodness towards us, His mercy to us, and He's so good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are those that are suffering real deep pains. I mean, there's no doubt about that at all. But by and large, most of the people who, are struggling with gratitude, it really is about, so our kids, I don't think we really try to spoil them, but they live in America. They, we're a middle-class family. Like they have grandparents that give them a bunch of stuff. So stop giving them so much stuff.
Grandparents.
Give them practical things that would help. Anyway, but that's okay.
College fund.
They're not listening. They're not listening, so it's all good. So much is realizing hey guys, if your attitude isn't going to change, we're going to take away some of these privileges that you have because we do feel like you're ungrateful and, you just kind of become self-centered. And I think, a lot of us grow up and we're still struggling with the same things because, if you want a pair of shoes, you can buy a pair of shoes, if you want that, you just get things when you want things, and we're Americans and we create opportunities for ourselves. And I think that we really struggle with when things don't go how we want them, when we want them. And I know it sounds so simple, but I really do think we have to really ask ourselves, what is our reward? What is our joy and happiness based on? And it's so offensive that we often consider our busyness like suffering when we have people who are going through legit suffering, and people. So a while back ago, I was to criticize Tim Tebow's book when he talks about trials. I'm like, bro, stop. It is not a trial that you got to the NFL and couldn't be the position you want to be. Stop. And people were like, but everybody's trial is whatever. I'm like, I'm not saying that God doesn't use it.
Right.
But let's have the real perspective here, about trials. And I think that you have to get that to move to a place of deep, true gratitude for the life God gives you.
Yeah. I think, we don't, it shouldn't take suffering for us to be grateful, but God does meet us in suffering
Yeah.
and teaches us to be grateful.
Yeah.
And so I would say, to those this holiday season and Thanksgiving and Christmas who are like just suffering, whether it's because of loss or just because there's legitimate circumstances that are so difficult, like that suffering doesn't take away gratitude. In fact, I think you could argue that our gratitude sometimes increases in suffering because, we recognize God's presence with
Yeah,
us.
that's good.
I mean, that is a choice. It comes back to
Yeah.
choosing joy and choosing to receive and believe like God's promises, His presence with us, the
Yeah.
comfort of the Spirit. But yeah, like He is so present in that suffering, and we view suffering as like the lack of blessing,
Right. Yeah.
whereas God, I'm going to reference that sermon again. He says the way to glory is suffering. Jesus basically says that to the disciples. And I think that, we're going to suffer. And the absence of suffering is not equate God's blessing on our lives. We are blessed because we know Jesus and that He is the fountain that never runs dry, the source, that He's the fount of every blessing, as the hymn says, we got to lean into that.
So much of we say we're following Christ, so much of Christ, in the commandments to look to Him as example is what He did in the midst of suffering we'll never know, suffering the wrath of God. And thanks to Him doing that, we'll never know that same suffering. And so I think, all of our suffering points us to that. And then I think when we understand that, it causes us to proceed to look at our life and how truly blessed it is. And I think those blessings mean so much more to us when they aren't something we feel entitled to. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think this is like we were kind of talking like a deep, like a almost a shallow level, but you can't really talk about this without getting real deep because it really is a deep thing. And I do think that, in the scriptures, I'm going blank on it right now where it is, but it talks about how, do everything without grumbling or disputing and you'll make yourself a light. And that's in Philippians 2, the end of Philippians 2. And you'll shine as light in the darkness. And it's like, really seriously, like just by not grumbling and disputing, like we will shine as light. I'm like, it's not hard for light to shine in the darkness. And that's a characteristic of God's people is that we don't have this negative attitude.
Yeah.
So like practical application, like you're right. Restaurants aren't what they used to be. You're paying more for less. But if you're going there, then you're a slave, right? Like you're there to serve those people. Like as a Christian, I know you're paying them and I know that
serve them,
but you're a servant to them. Like in traffic, like you're a servant. Like everywhere you go, you're a servant if you're a Christ follower.
Right. And I think, that's counter. It's not going to say counterintuitive. It's just counter to our flesh. Our flesh wants to be selfish, and our flesh wants what we want when we want it. And I think we talked about entitlement. We talked about just the hustle and the rush. And I think another thing that keeps us from being grateful is really this expectations that haven't been met. We've alluded to that, and you say we've said disappointment stems from expectation. I think that's like so much of our gratitude is because we want things to be different, and some of that is okay. Like it's okay to want things to be different, like in certain situations, circumstances. But like sometimes we just want our life to be different, and we're mad that it's not, and we blame God for that. And so rather than thank God for what He's blessed us with, we focus on what we don't have or what is not yet, and we don't enjoy. We miss the moment, and I'm guilty of this. It's just kind of like the parent who's like, I can't wait for this phase to be over. And then you just enter a phase that's just as trying, just in different ways. And we do that with our jobs. We do that with so many things. And I think, what if we just paused and said, what are God's blessings in this right now?
You're right.
And so I think practically you talked about like going to restaurants and traffic. And I think like even practically this week, I would say, take time as a family and as an individual, wherever you're gathered, and just name your blessings. Like the old hymn says, count your many blessings. Like do it.
Name them one by one, man.
Like say what they are out loud and model this for your family. Model this for your kids or for your parents. I know we have adults who listen to this who are going into family situations where their parents or relatives are not believers. But hey, let's just take time to model this and to just share God's blessings and really just be grateful,
Mm-hmm.
intentionally not complain, you know?
You're saying to just be too blessed to be stressed, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Too blessed to stress.
Another
Hashtag
cliche since we've gone on them. Well, I think that's a
reach my
great
paper. I dropped it.
ending note, Pastor Justin Wyatt.
Stools are so high.
Don't fall over.
I didn't fall over.
Yeah,
oh
good
man.
job.
So yeah, we do have some questions to answer. The first question is this. Where are the questions? Oh yeah. What are the greatest needs for service in the church? Well, I mean, wherever you want to, where do you want to start? I mean, I think for us, the greatest needs are probably always going to be with kids because we continue to grow in that area and we value the safety of our children, and so we keep ratios for our kids. You know, we make sure that there's enough volunteers with our kids. That's always a huge area. So just don't hesitate with that. Students as well. I think. Those who are willing, those mature Christians who are willing to take the time, energy, and effort to be disciple makers and lead life groups. That's a big need we have right now, I think. And I think when you start doing something well, it creates a problem. And I think some of our life groups, because they are doing things well in many ways, like they are creating community, they are diving deep into the word, they are like people don't necessarily want to leave that because they're like, but I love my group. But if we're making disciples, we got to multiply. So we need people to like say, hey, that's me and I need to do it. Yeah. What else would you add on to this?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely agree with you that, I mean, so this question gets asked to me a lot about people who are new, are like, hey, I just want to serve in the church. And it's so amazing to me, the number of those that actually don't, because what they mean is I want to do something I want to do. But what they want to do isn't really like something that has anything to do with like what we do on a regular basis. And I would just say like the greatest needs, I mean, children's ministry again is a huge need and a huge responsibility and a huge privilege. And, you know, sometimes it's tough and sometimes it's not. But it's such a huge, it not only ministers to those children and again, you're making an impression on them that, you know, they're going to carry with for the rest of their life, but also on their families as well, especially if we're welcoming, you know, non-Christian families. So they're, student ministry, but not just people to do like Sunday morning. Like that's the thing. I think some people do student ministry instead of children's ministry because it's less exhausting. But it's like, if you're doing student ministry, you really need to be like, hey, I'm going to connect with these students beyond just Sunday morning or Wednesday night or whenever it might be. So it's really like making a relational investment. And then, you know, honestly, like if you're gifted and talented, like singing or, you know, on a praise team, choir
worship team, instrument.
Yeah. In the tech booth.
Tech booth is a big one.
And then
we
I feel
need
like
some volunteers.
You know, I'm not good at any of that. Like showing up early and welcoming people is a big deal. It's a big deal. We're I think it's true at any church, but we're a big enough church where, you know, there are several visitors every single Sunday and they don't know what to do. And even if there's just one, like that's worth it. And then you're also just encouraging other people who are believers who come here. You don't know what they're going on. And I just think we underestimate what's going on in their life. I just think we underestimate the value there. And then I would say beyond, if you're somebody who's already like committed to worship, serving, growing, giving, is moving into a leadership position, specifically life groups, disciple making. And I think that's every church. The things I'm mentioning are common.
It's no different. I think we oftentimes, you know, church people want to serve on their own terms. And that's kind of a blanket statement. That's not just our church. That's every church. It's an issue which the church leaders always have to deal with. But I just think of it in terms of this. Like there's the people who are like, well, I want to serve like every other month. They're like, it's actually creating more work for staff members to like how many hours it takes for our kids ministry to organize a schedule because there's people who are willing to serve, but only X number of times. Now, I will say we have a lot of people who are like, just tell me when, if you ever have a need, call me. I mean, we are blessed in that, but a lot of it's because we have people who are like every other month or once a quarter.
And it's a lot. We don't have a large staff for the Southern Church. Like it's a lot for them to say, hey, if you need me, call me. It's like, can you just show up and ask what I can do? You know, and I truly don't get why a Christian who's healthy and doesn't have some nuanced situation going in their life. I realize, there's some. So I'm not talking about that. That's between you and the Lord. But won't serve regularly on Sunday mornings, you know, or in a way that their church needs help. Because like you were referencing that Mark 10 passage, and he said, you know, you need to be a slave of all. A slave of all.
Yeah.
I'm like, some of you get mad that we ask you to show up 15 minutes before service. Like like seriously, you know, you said you would be a slave, like you want to follow Jesus and have his position
Jesus
in glory.
says this,
And like, you don't even like that you're told what to do about like serving your church. Like, and I just think the fruit of the gospel should be so many people willing to say, where do you need me? And we do have great people. So,
seriously.
but
Hey,
there's, it is, I think as a pastor, that is one thing you kind of, I think this is why a lot of people are going out of ministries. You just see so many people that don't have that mentality who claim the name of Christ, and it is disheartening.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think what you know, when Jesus says, are you willing to be a slave to all? You know, you're not signing up to be a slave to James or Justin or Michael or any of our staff men. Like, it is like the mission of the church is to make disciples.
I don't ask anybody to do anything hardly. So it's not me.
You know, it's just like, we want people to serve. And gosh, when we talk about serving, we just oftentimes forget that, like, we grow and we are so blessed when we serve.
I know.
Like, we grow when we serve, all those things. So you alluded to this, but this is a question that was asked. Why is it that typically pastors don't stay at churches very long?
It's all your fault. It's you people.
Oh, man. I think this is an interesting question, because there are some pastors who do stay a very long time and then some who don't. And I mean, there's 100 reasons or 100 ways you can answer to this. You know, I think we were just, you know, one of the big emphases of the conference we were just at with the Florida Baptist Convention and the pastors conference was they were trying to encourage people to stand firm and, you know, to remain, because so many pastors are quitting, not just leaving a church, but actually quitting ministry, various reasons. You can get into that. You know, I think there's like the legitimate reasons why sometimes pastors don't stay long. Maybe God does genuinely call someone, you know, the call of God away.
They sleep with somebody who's not their wife,
but
and
then
they
there's the
probably
things that
shouldn't be
happen
in that
that are
anymore.
like, there's moral failures that are just like, you shouldn't do that, and you're disqualified. But then there's like the other reasons that are probably, I guess, maybe more worldly reasons that are just like, whether it's there are difficult churches, there are even in some pastors, there's just personal ambition that they're like, I'm not going to stay here because it's not going my way, or it's not how I like, or things didn't change quick enough. So there's those reasons as well. You know, being Baptist churches, the way that we're structured is that Baptist churches are autonomous. So each church calls their own pastor, which is different than, you know, other denominations where you have a presbytery or a elder board, not elder board, but I guess presbytery is the right word.
They have like the Methodist Church has like the bishop.
The bishop, and they're determining where people get to go, and
there's pros and cons of both of those.
Exactly.
Honestly,
it's not right or wrong in either way.
Better
it's
retirement if you're Methodist.
Seriously, there you go. We're kind of on our own, but
and it ain't going well right now.
But I think there's those reasons. Like, I don't know, what else would you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you said accurately. There's 100 reasons. And, you know, sometimes I think it is that, you know, I think we'll just speak to our denomination, you know, denomination more so. But I think that, you know, the vetting process of, is this a good fit, is not done as well as it should be. And so then a guy gets into a role and needs a job to provide for his family, and the church needed to fill that position. And one of them are like, whoa, this isn't as good as I thought it would be. So I do think go slowly, hire, you know, and hire slowly in those positions. So that's just like a practical thing. And then I think if maybe they're asking about like the guys moving from church to church to church, like some guys are, you know, bigger church, you know, better job. And some churches could pay their staff more. I mean, that's part of it. But some of that you just can't slow down. And maybe, and the Lord's sovereign in that and uses all that. I would say that, you know, like from our perspective, working with our personnel MLT and like our administrator, like we're like, okay, we recognize that there is, and this might be where this question was coming from, an epidemic of guys leaving vocational ministry. And on one hand, I would say that a lot of those guys are still ministering. So it's not that they, are quitting on Jesus or the church. They're just quitting on all the stuff that really isn't ministry that comes along with their job.
Right.
And, you know, and I think, you know, maybe that's not all that bad of a thing, but on the other hand, like, ministry is a calling. I tell people all, it is a calling, not a job. If you're doing it for the money, dude, it is not.
It's not the right way to go.
Everyone just about can make more money doing something in the secular world than what they're doing.
Right.
And so, and I think sometimes guys just need a break from it. But I mean, there's like our church is great. Our church is great. There's a lot of criticism that comes with a leadership position.
Right.
I mean, and you're like, well, politicians, I'm like, yeah, they have way more money. Like,
That's right. And they're playing to a base, you know, like yeah, exactly. Like they're elected by one group of people, usually criticized by the group that didn't elect them the loudest. And they're like, well, I don't care. I got elected. And, so there's different dynamics.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like the greatest, most solid, awesome person, all that, but like, I think I'm pretty thick skinned and pretty like, hey, I'm following the Lord and I'm here to please him and not man. But like, I feel those pressures. And so I think guys who, and women who are in church staff who aren't, even as secure as where I am, like I get like it's hard and sometimes they just need a break and they need health and churches don't know how to do that. And it's becoming, sorry, I'm rambling here, man, but it's becoming, there was like a time, I'm probably right when I was starting to follow Jesus, where like the pastor in the community, like he's like a notable person, and it's like, it's not so much
not
that
way
anymore.
Yeah, there's almost like a hesitancy to trust, or there's a skepticism.
Yeah. And some of that's deserved based on what dudes in our positions have done. I mean,
absolutely.
So I think we just basically said this is super boggy.
Yeah, it is. There's lots of different reasons.
Did we give some insight, Justin?
I think maybe some boggy insight. Going back, there's some right reasons why sometimes they don't stay long, and then there's some wrong reasons.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that? I kind of spoke.
No, I mean, I think that says it all. Like I wouldn't say it's necessarily in every situation is different because it's not true, but there's a reason to every situation. And sometimes that reason is God moves people. I mean, he's sovereign over everything. And sometimes it is, well, they did something dumb, or they're being selfish, or the church was a unhealthy, toxic place. And they just said, and sometimes it just is, hey, the pastor's doing a great job and the church is healthy, but it's, I think, this church, like with Pastor Mike, who retired from here, before you, like he was here 10 years, which is a very long time, as a pastor. And I think this church has benefited from that. And when he retired, he stayed. And, there's such benefit to that.
In 100 and so we're at now 112 years of the church's existence. He's the second longest tenure pastor,
and which is crazy when you think about that. That is the second longest tenure of a church. So yeah, you could dive into that, and you can deconstruct that as much as you want to. But
but like I remember when I came, I was like, I think obviously since the Lord, but I even said to some people like, if I'm here 5 years and I would hit 40, and the church is not following my lead, like I'm not staying. Like I'm not gonna give up. Like I mean, I'll do whatever the Lord Jesus says, but like I don't find some like nobility in just continuing to lead and the church not liking me, like suffering for Jesus, like, like if it's not working, it's not working. And so I think sometimes again,
sometimes it just isn't working.
Yeah. Which absolutely, thank God it's so great here.
And there could be even fine reasons why it's not working. And it doesn't mean there's something wrong with the church or the pastor. Sometimes it's just not the right fit, and that's okay. And, so hopefully that gets taken care of in the interview process, but sometimes it doesn't because I will say that in interview processes with churches, a lot of times I just, from people, just talking to people, churches tend to oversimplify their issues in the interview process, and pastors tend to oversell their ability to handle those issues, so it's not, there's multiple, issues in that process. But anyway, it's boggy. But this is Boggy Talk, so we can handle it. So, hey, we're going to wrap it up today with a little game. I think we spent enough time on questions. So
we did.
We're going to wrap it up with a little game, Thanksgiving week. And this game is to equip you with some conversation starters around the Thanksgiving table. So we're going to do a little Thanksgiving history trivia, past and some modern history of Thanksgiving. I'm going to ask James some questions here, and we're going to see just how patriotic he is about Thanksgiving.
Patriotic I am about Thanksgiving.
Exactly, because this is an American holiday.
Okay.
So I mean, they have Thanksgiving in Canada too, but it's a different day, so it doesn't count because we're America. And
Nothing
as
says
good.
like a patriotic, like sharing a meal with Native Americans and then taking
and
them
then
over.
taking everything.
Yeah.
So, all right. So here we go. And feel free to just ask these questions to your know-it-all family members around the Thanksgiving table. So, how long was the first Thanksgiving celebration?
3.5 hours. That's why we watch 3 football games on Thanksgiving.
Actually, it was 3 days. You
Oh,
had 3
man.
right. That's good.
You thought I was going to get it right for a
I
second
was
there,
like,
didn't
oh,
you?
wow, he's good. I
Yeah.
didn't know that it was 3 days. I guess
I
I did know
knew
that.
it was way longer than 3.5 hours, but I just.
Do you know what year it was?
Oh my goodness. Well, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean
It's
blue.
way after that.
1545, I think, was the Plymouth Rock, or was it 1512?
1621 was the first Thanksgiving celebration.
I was getting there.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say 1621.
You totally were.
I was building to it.
All
I
right,
wasn't
so-
going to say 1621.
All right. Turkey was not the first meat served
Oh.
at Thanksgiving. What were the meats served at the first Thanksgiving celebration? You just got to get, I've got 4 on this list.
Okay.
So if you get 1, you're doing great.
Jalapeno cheddar sausage,
Yes.
beef brisket,
You are so right.
pulled pork,
Yeah.
and chicken.
Ribs. And none of those.
Oh, not even chicken?
Not even chicken.
Oh, man.
Venison.
Quail?
Venison.
I said sausage, venison.
Did you say? I don't think you said.
I didn't
did
say
you?
venison
Okay.
sausage, but
Swan, duck, and goose were likely
man.
not turkey. Okay, but
on the 4th day of Thanksgiving,
there was also seafood served
Puritan
at the
gave
first
to
Thanksgiving.
me.
What seafood was likely served at the first Thanksgiving?
what seafood? Crab legs.
Definitely crab legs. They caught them on their way over, and they kept them. They preserved them in all the
This is
ice
what
they
you should
had.
have done on the game last week. Just gave the
Stupid
most
things.
right. Because
I was so ill prepared for that game last
well,
week.
I am too. So I'm just saying stupid stuff.
You're better at saying stupid stuff.
Wit them with charm. If you're stupid.
Lobster. They had lobster.
Oh, whoa, that was even
So
fancier than
you
crab
guys can
legs.
fancy that up at your
okay,
Thanksgiving
you shouldn't
meal.
judge me on the crab legs then.
That's fine. It was close. So
Yeah, it
I'll
was.
give you half a point. for
Wow,
close.
man.
Okay.
I would rather have that at Thanksgiving than.
All right. So on average, this is crazy. On average, how many calories per person are consumed at Thanksgiving dinner?
9,000.
Half that.
Okay. 4,500 series?
calories. Yes. That is 2
No.
days worth of calories in one meal.
No
Thanksgiving
wonder.
meal. So
No wonder.
yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. So you can put
How
those
much of that
seconds
comes
back.
from dressing?
Probably a lot because dressing
Okay.
is like straight up butter.
Oh, okay.
And it's so good. So good.
That's your
All right.
favorite, isn't it?
I love dressing. Yes.
No,
All right.
You said dressing last
Dressing.
year. Not
That's right.
dressing, dressing.
When was the first Thanksgiving football game?
American football or
That's the only real
England? Oh, they
football.
don't celebrate Thanksgiving in other
No,
countries.
No way. They're mad at us for Thanksgiving.
Ooh, first Thanksgiving football game. Let's go with 1971.
Oh, you're so off. 1876.
What?
The first NFL game was 1920. So that was a college game. All right. So who
Wow.
was the first president to pardon a turkey?
Barack Obama.
That seems like something Barack Obama would do. And he did because it was tradition by then.
See, that was just a political
earlier,
joke
that's
because
right.
some of the people he pardoned were turkeys. Get it?
There you go.
Okay.
All right. It's actually JFK. John F.
Really? I would have
Kennedy.
gone way, like if I were
Yeah.
serious guessing, I would have said way before that.
Who was the president who made Thanksgiving
Knew it was a Democrat, though.
permanent? Of course you did. A permanent national holiday.
Permanent national holiday. FDR. He's all about the free stuff.
No, this go further back. One of the most respected presidents.
Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah.
Wow.
There you
I
go.
was going to say Taft.
People are like, he was president.
Andrew Jackson.
All right. About how many turkeys? I'm going to give you multiple choice on this one. All right. How many turkeys are prepared for Thanksgiving in America each year? About 23 million, 35 million, or 46 million?
I'm going 46.
It is 46
Yeah,
million
yeah.
turkeys. That's
That's a
crazy. I
lot.
mean, think about the population, like 300 million people. That's turkey serving a lot of people.
That is.
All
That's-
right.
2 are at my house.
This
No, I'm just
is
kidding.
That's right. This okay, we're gonna wrap it up right here. I would have never guessed this. Black Friday is the biggest day of the year for what trade profession?
Auto mechanics.
Plumbers. I'm not kidding. Isn't that
Oh, you
crazy?
got to connect the dots.
You
We're
gotta
not going to connect the dots.
Everybody having all these people over,
Wow.
and then they're so full from their 4,500 calorie meals plus seconds, and
they need a plumber.
Just blow it up.
Whoa, you went there. You went there.
I guess so. Clogging the pipes.
What do you mean blow it up, Justin? Clarify.
If you need, you feel free to email me.
Hey, you know what?
What?
This actually, I thought it was gonna be very light, like not serious boggy talk, and it got pretty serious in those
because
beginning portions.
Yeah, but let's wrap it up with this. We played a funny game. What are you thankful for, bruh?
I'm thankful for you, Justin.
Oh man, I'm thankful
my
for
faithful
you.
co-host.
Faithful co-host.
And the fact that we've now established I'm the host and you're the co-host of
Right,
Boggy Talk.
right.
What about you, Justin? What are you thankful
Man,
for?
so where do you start? I mean, Jesus,
Me.
God's faithfulness, you.
Just kidding.
Absolutely, I'm thankful for you.
Thankful for Boggy Talk Nation.
I am, and all the support and love we get.
You think we're going to have more viewers this week since it's a holiday
Everybody's
and people
got
are traveling?
time to travel, download this episode, listen.
They're probably listening to one from like 6 months ago.
They're catching up. They're
Yeah,
catching
yeah.
up. Yeah, man, family, this church,
Yeah.
good friends. I'll just say, this is a church resource. So I do want to say, man, I'm really thankful for this church.
Me too. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just amazing people. People are the church. There's amazing people. There's
So thankful for our
things.
sponsors.
Yeah.
I'll list them all right now.
We were so thankful for you. Yes.
Wait, did it cut out?
Oh, yeah, wait. Oh, did I need to edit
All right.
that? Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Please tune in next time.
Thanks for listening to Boggy Talk. We are so glad you joined in the conversation. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss a beat.